In the beginning, we knew absolutely nothing about our little brothers and sisters.
Little Big Family.
Little Big Family would be the name of our film, a quest to the microorganisms. Our third film about a life form on Earth, which is our family.
Jeder Mikroorganismus, jedes Blatt, jeder Grashalm, jedes Tier, jeder Baum ist genauso viel wert oder sogar mehr wert als ich.
We already have created 2 films on our family, one for the animals and one on the trees and plants. But microorganisms are invisible for our eyes. How can we approach them without getting lost in mere science? And then we just head out once more. A small family on an adventurous journey. To get to know our invisible family members and to take you with us, to arouse your curiosity on a quest that will finally lead us into ourselves. But this lies still far in the future, on our first filming day, visiting our friends in Panama. Carrie and Shaheen, who produce kombucha and kefir. The first story of many that will connect us with our little, big family.
Felicidad. Love. A singing bowl? Come on. These are only drinks, right?
Well, my husband, business partner, and life partner and I have enjoyed fermenting Indian pickles for 10, 15 years now. And when we discovered kombucha and other fermented foods, we started understanding the beauty of the life involved in that and how it changed our life, as well as it helped us work with the microorganisms that actually assist our bodies. So kombucha specifically is brewed with first you start with sugar tea, and you always have a starter. What it's a SCOBY, and SCOBY represents it's an acronym for Symbiotic Community of Bacteria and Yeast. However, we like to call it Mother because we believe that is basically where the creation of the new bacteria are coming from. I did a little experiment, and we have a little chalkboard on our vessels, and I wrote joy on one, and I wrote love on another, and these were all kombuchas that were brewing at the same time, the same tea, the same sugar amount, everything was the same. And I tasted all of them at the time to see if the fermentation process had finished, and to my amazement, the joy, the one from Joy, I tasted it with a little shot glass that I tasted. And literally I felt the joy of that drink. It really felt tasty and fun and lovely. Then I tasted love, and it was good, but it didn't have the same, pizzazz as Joy, but it felt great. And then Unity was almost like a very, I like if you would think equilibrium. It was like that.
I think there's a spiritual connection to it. You may have heard the expression, I have a gut feeling about this situation. I have a gut feeling that this guy is pretty cool. And I believe that word or this phrase of gut feeling comes from the fact that we have microbiome in our body, and the microbiome connects to our brain and connect through the vagus nerve. And there's research here as well. There's a lot of biomedical research being done as to how these microbiome or probiotics that are living in our gut communicate through the vagus nerve, which is a nerve that runs along your vertebrae up to your brain. And so they call it the second brain, which is how you get your gut feeling.
A mother, says Carrie. A second brain, claims Shaheen, but it's only bacteria, right? We have to digest this information. With kombucha, of course.
Yummy bacteria.
A sewage plant in Austria, we are told, plays Mozart's magic flute for their microorganisms. The small ones work faster since. The next day, life leads us on magical ways towards fermentation guru Sandor Katz, who organizes a fermentation workshop in Panama.
For sure. I mean, I would say that I think of microorganisms as our ancestors and also as our partners in life. And, it seems like the emerging consensus in evolutionary biology is that all life is descended from bacteria and that no multicellular form of life has ever lived without bacteria. Well, bacteria are definitely our family. I mean, if human beings and all animals and plants and eukaryotic cells are descended from bacteria, then there's no question that bacteria are our family.
Maybe you yourself are a whole world for very small ones inhabiting you.
I do admit that this thought scares me. Because maybe my beloved I is actually a we. Our second story presents someone who can feel colors and who casts onto canvas what he senses deep within.
Little big family.
Entonces crecí con un papá chamán, la abuela casi no hablaba el español, entonces yo crecí, antes de ir a la escuela, viví mucho ese mundo, muy integrado, esa cosmovisión muy cercana, esa relación muy estrecha con la naturaleza. Y eso es lo que me ha nutrido a lo largo de todo mi trabajo. La misión mía creo que es contar o narrar a través de pinturas, a través de metáforas y poesía visual, esa experiencia que yo tuve, cómo el ser humano vibra con la naturaleza, para poder imaginarse, por ejemplo, el nacimiento de una flor, la fuerza de la naturaleza, el origen de un río, las montañas, el paisaje, incluso la naturaleza interior del ser humano. Me interesa muchísimo también. A veces que por andar en ese afán deshumanizante y galopante de la humanidad, a veces nos perdemos esa capacidad de asombro. Entonces la idea es como decir wow, entender ese wow, pero pintado. Cuando uno siente, cuando uno entiende o comprende que por un lado somos seres ilimitados, pero por otro hacemos parte del todo, parte del planeta, y que por lo tanto tenemos que respetarla y amarla como nuestra madre. Entonces creo que eso no es más allá de un cliché, sino que es una verdad. Porque uno no puede amar lo que no conoce, entonces vamos a amarnos a nosotros y vamos a amar a los otros, y por supuesto que vamos a amar la vida, la existencia y el planeta sobre todo, ¿no?
To learn how to love your inner nature? Well, for this you have to come to know it. You have to sense the little ones who inhabit you, to recognize them as part of yourself.
And the recognition will be our job. We will search for the wow of the little big family. We will look for doors through which not our mind will pass, but our heart. I have an uneasy feeling on my trip to Hippocrates Health Institute in Florida. The very small ones inhabit me. No, they are an inseparable part of me. I cannot feel their vibration, not yet, but they live with me, in me. So it is about time to find out what the little big family does in the temple of my body. Time maybe for a wow.
Los microorganismos que tenemos son nuestra familia. Son nuestros amigos, es un ecosistema perfecto. O sea, nosotros somos ellos. De la manera en que nosotros los cuidemos, ellos también van a cuidar de nosotros.
We have more microorganisms in our body than we have cells. Our chemical system depends on being in balance, in symbiosis with our microbiome.
Los microorganismos que tenemos en nuestro cuerpo son amigos. Todos son amigos. Lo que pasa es que tienen que estar en balance. Eso es muy importante. Cuando se sale del balance es cuando generan problemas.
We have a symbiotic relationship. We cannot exist without them, and they cannot exist without us. Our bodies are basically their home. We are room and board. We are room and board for them. And what they do is they actually protect us against diseases. They protect us against any outside invasion.
So know this, that your body needs to live in balance with your bacteria. Your bacteria are more important than your cells because the bacteria have been around for billions of years. And a lot of what we've done to the microbiome are because we're treating symptoms. So we overtreat with antibiotics, which destroys the microbiome of the GI tract.
I think in a lot of ways microorganisms can help us. I mean, I think the gut is one of the things our first lecture that people come here is we talk about the gut. We see many people that come here with compromised microbiome and compromised gut health. And once we start to get that supported and cleansed and support the healing of that, we see people overcome many different disorders that, from IBS to Crohn's to colitis up to stage 4 cancer.
We don't dare to believe what we cannot see, but More microorganisms in you than body cells? Wow! Maybe Eden hides not only in your heart, but also in your guts.
We put up a fight for cancer, a fight for, a fight against bacteria, we're fighting everything. We need to learn to live in balance, not fight everything. It's a war, we're not at war with our bodies.
To live in harmony with them, to stay in harmony with the earth because they are part of the earth. We need them as much as they need us.
And if a child is born by a C-section, they have a much higher incidence of all causes of upper respiratory tract problems because they don't go through the vaginal microbiome. When they go through the vaginal microbiome, they reduce their incidence of autoimmune diseases, they reduce their incidence of allergies, they reduce their incidence of asthma.
Your very first peer group was a microbiome? Again, wow. So you better take care of them.
La alimentación. La alimentación es una de las maneras en que más afectamos el microbioma. ¿Por qué este programa es tan exitoso para tantos pacientes? Primero, la alimentación que se maneja, cruda y vegana, orgánica, todo libre de pesticidas, herbicidas, comida modificada genéticamente, alimentación rica en fermentos. Los fermentos son esenciales.
In 1960, between 1960 and 1990, we only had about 50 autoimmune diseases that we knew of. Today we have 150. It's because our gastrointestinal tract has been destroyed by the foods we eat. So pay attention to your nutrition, restore your microbiome, your immune system will improve, your risk of cancer will go down. Everything is associated with the microbiome.
They were here before humans, and we have to respect that. We're actually more of a product of them than they are a product of us because they are from the soil.
Eat dirt. I mean, when I was growing up, nobody told me to wash my hands after I played ball. I don't carry wipes with me to make sure that I'm free of bacteria.
Ama tu cuerpo, ama a Dios, ama tu familia, tus seres queridos y ama estos microorganismos que son nuestra gran familia.
And if they had wings, maybe they'd be small angels?
A romantic thought. More angels in me than body cells. They travel with me, we share our food. And be them angels or not, this evening I can feel them for the first time. Where you feel family.
Ich liebe Mikroorganismen, weil ich aus Mikroorganismen bestehe.
Ich liebe Mikroorganismen, weil sie fast ohne Ausnahme unsichtbar und unglaublich vielfältig sind und Lebensräume bevölkert haben, die für den Menschen vollkommen lebensfeindlich sind.
A fraction only do we know of our little family. Invisibly, they inhabit this world. And you.
They estimate some million species, but only 5,000 are known today, and only 200 are pathogenic. We are on the trail of an unseen majority, and maybe, after all, humans are not the rulers of the world.
die sind absolut allgegenwärtig. Es gibt nahezu keinen Lebensraum, der von Mikroorganismen noch nicht erobert wurde. Da macht das Wasser im Hafen keine Ausnahme und einzelne Milliliter Süßwasser können Hunderttausende einzelner Zellen enthalten. Wahrscheinlich übersteigt die Zahl der tatsächlich existierenden Arten, man kann das nur sehr grob schätzen, die bekannten Arten um viele Zehnerpotenzen. Sie sind einfach unglaublich anpassungsfähig, haben unglaubliche Lebensräume erobert, für den Menschen geradezu lebensfeindliche Lebensräume bei sehr hohen Temperaturen, bei 70, 80 Grad, was für den Menschen natürlich unvorstellbar ist. Hohe Drücke, hohe Strahlenbelastungen sind für viele Mikroorganismen kein Problem. Teil der Faszination ist natürlich auch absolut, dass uns die überwiegende Mehrheit aller Mikroorganismen total verborgen bleibt im Alltag, trotz der Allgegenwärtigkeit, weswegen man Mikroorganismen auch mit Fug und Recht als unseen majority auf diesem Planeten und in unserer Umgebung bezeichnen kann.
The water bear, for example, is a microanimal. It can repair its own genome and integrate external DNA. It can survive in Himalaya, in the deep sea, Antarctica and outer space. Or it can survive more than 10 years at -80 Celsius and live again after defrost. And bacteria, like the ones in our gut, can even survive up to 1,000 years under extreme conditions.
Fascinating family, isn't it?
Microorganisms have, mechanisms for communications. Microorganisms have what's called quorum sensing, a way to sort of sense their own density.
Quorum Sensing ist eine Art von Verhaltenskoordination, bei der Mikroorganismen in der Lage sind, wahrzunehmen, wie ihre Umgebung aussieht, wie viele andere Zellen möglicherweise in der Umgebung sind, welche verwandten Zellen es möglicherweise in der Umgebung gibt. Das heißt, Mikroorganismen sind in der Lage wahrzunehmen, wie viele sie sind und was sie als nächstes sinnvoll tun sollten, allein durch den Austausch von kleinen organischen Molekülen.
They perceive, they inter-exchange, they plan, and they are a part of you.
Wir sind schon eine Ansammlung von vielen Lebewesen, von sehr vielen Zellen, von sehr vielen Arten gleichzeitig in einer Packung, in einer Hülle. Und der Familiengedanke ist absolut interessant, weil die Zahl der Mikroorganismen im Körper die Zahl der Körperzellen sogar noch übersteigt. Das heißt, wir haben sehr viel mehr Mikroorganismen in uns und auf uns, als wir Körperzellen haben.
I am a house. We are a house in which many, a lot, are co-living, co-creating. Invisible, but reliable. Always there for us.
Well, that's family.
Our first time in Japan. A culture which is very unfamiliar to us, that rushes into our senses, our minds without premonition. Like the Little Big Family does since we started our quest. The foreign land scares us every now and then during our first days in Tokyo. But why? Is it an implemented protection against the unknown? We are traveling across clouds and oceans, but since we had started this film, I travel into myself. Nobody is an island, I am no exception. And maybe the inspiration, the muse kissing me during this quest, maybe it is being created in my microbiome. Maybe the legion of the Little Big Family is a portal, an antenna towards higher worlds, towards the gods, or God.
Open up for the unknown, and hush, the fear dissolves. The fear of big ones and small ones. The curious child opens doors and finds a treasure.
And so we fly to Okinawa. To meet a true micro-pioneer. Professor Higa, founder of EMRO and keeper of a unique knowledge about the EM, the effective microorganisms. For some days we will live in EMRO's own hotel on Okinawa, surrounded by the effective microorganisms.
このホテルの特別なところは、EM という微生物技術を客室、食事、スパなどに最大限活用しているところです。EM がコンクリートに混ぜると強くなったりとか、中にいる我々の健康にとってプラスになるということが研究で分かってきてたので、そのことを実証するために建築にも使っています。
このホテルでは EM を広めるために作られてるんですけども、環境に優しく、そして使う人にも優しいというところで EM を使っています。まず、普通の洗剤では手が荒れたりしますけども、この EM を使うことで手荒れがほとんどないっていう状況です。
And after unpacking, we head on for the EMRO labs.
EM 私たち研究部の仕事は EM の品質管理として EM の中に入っている微生物の検査や成分の検査などを行っています。またその他の仕事として EM を使ってどのように水質浄化をする研究だったり、植物を育てるときに EM がどのように良い効果を及ぼしているかなどの研究を行っています。微生物というのは私たちの目ではそもそも見ることができないサイズ、大きさなので、それを例えば今この机の上とかにも全く何もいないように見えても顕微鏡で覗くことによって小さな生き物たちがたくさんいる世界を見ることができるので、普段見ることのできない世界を覗くことができるのはとても興味深いことだと思います。
Okinawa wraps up in dark night skies, and online I detect amazing facts.
1 gram of soil is habitat for around 1 billion bacteria. the DNA of all these bacteria, strung together, would reach beyond the limits of our universe.
And already in 2007, scientists found out that microbes in the soil act as antidepressant. Microorganisms in healthy soil stimulate the production of serotonin, which makes us happier. Eat dirt, Dr. Willix had said. And in our soil, there is more than enough little big family. The next morning, we travel across the island. They have a radio station here, EM Oasis, radio on the microbes.
微生物が比嘉先生は会話するとかね通信するっておっしゃるんですが、最近本当にそういうことが最初はそんなことあるかしらって思ったことがなるほどって理解できるようになってきました。EM をたくさんの人に知ってもらい、そしてEM は地球に優しいっていう言い方はあれだな。私たちがこう日頃汚している地球のに恩返しというか、そのごめんなさいを言うために地球環境にお詫びをするために EM をぜひ使ってほしいっていう思いでやっています。
Bonnie stays tuned to the radio, and I talk with two acerola farmers who use microorganisms instead of chemistry.
じゃあなんとかこの葉っぱのねちょっと弱ったとかこの虫がついても消毒はやらないで、このEMを撒いて自然にこの成長をまたやっています。家族というよりかもあれにもなんかねもう一緒にもう住み着いてる感じ。
一つのさくらんぼみたいなチェリーの大きさのものがレモン5個に匹敵します。だから体にいいものを私たちは作っているので、体に悪いものは使えないんです。
You feed your microbiome.
.私はもともと微生物の専門家じゃありませんので、園芸作物を育てたりそういう園芸の専門家ですから、栽培の専門家ですので微生物をあまり知らなかったことがですね、私が EM をたまたま見つけ出しただけで作り上げたっていう考えはないですね。とても運が良かったと思ってます。それからもう一つはですね、不思議なことにこの微生物に言葉をかけてお願いしますとかいろいろ頼むとその通りになっていくような感じがしたんです。現実にはそうなんですけれども、そういうことで自分の思いと微生物の成果がですね一致するという、これはもう本当にハッピーでした。
To say please to microorganisms and the little big family manifests my intention. On Okinawa, and not only there, they believe in it. And Professor Higa's international and successful projects prove it. The federal state of Sikkim in India, for example, produces 100% organic quality, supported by the EM.
そういうことを確信を持って今世界中にEMを広げているんです。微生物が我々のために働いてくれていると、それにまず ありがとうっていうか感謝の念が必要ですね。
毎週木曜日朝8時半からここで地域の方々に EM の無償提供をやってます。当初は微生物は見えませんし何なのかも知りませんし、顔を良くするということの話をしてみんなでやってみたら川がきれいになったということで、全ての皆さんがやっぱりそうなんだ、微生物の力はすごいなということで今実感していると思います。
はい、まあ私は時々乱暴なことを言いますけれども、まあ特に EM に関してはいい微生物については神様だと思えとこう言っているんですね。だから一般に言ってる神様とはちょっと違うんですけれども、万能の存在、それからこの万能を壊す存在、要するに微生物そのものが DNA の形をとっていますから、あらゆるものを全部つなげる。でもこれは見えなかったし確証ができないから、神様がくれたという原始的な考え方の植物や動物というレベルをはるかに超えたさらに奥の深い世界なんですね。
This afternoon we roam around Naha, Okinawa's capital. Little gods. My rational mind rejects this, of course. But okay, yes, they are invisible, they are more powerful than we are, and they live in each and every one of us. What we do not understand, but which happens nonetheless, is called magic by us. So maybe the Little Big family are little big wizards. We like that thought. And I decide that from now on I will say please and thank you. From Japan, we travel to Thailand. Follow the track of the little big ones. We marvel at Bangkok for some hours away from the touristic crowds. An early kombucha lunch in the Cat's Cafe.
My Little Big family.
Then we head on to Saraburi, 120 kilometers north of Thailand's capital. Since 1988, the Kyusei Nature Farming Training Center has educated more than 250,000 people in sustainable nature farming and the use of Professor Higa's effective microorganisms. Here we also admire a 60-hectare autarkic model farm. The soil that had been practically useless had been rendered fertile by the Little Big family. Here they also use bokashi, a valuable fertilizer based on EM. Even the chicken love bokashi, part of their daily meal.
ซฟฟู้ดหรืออาหารที่ปลอดภัยเนี่ยเกิดจากการเจริญเติบโตของพืชบนดินในกระบวนการที่เป็นสภาพสิ่งแวดล้อมที่เป็นธรรมชาติมีแต่ความสุขเพราะฉะนั้นจุลินทรีย์จึงมีความสำคัญใครก็ตามที่ได้อยู่ใกล้จุลินทรีย์เช่นจุลินทรีย์จะมีความสุขจะรู้สึกถึงพลังของความสุขพลังของการที่สร้างสรรค์โลกใบนี้ขาดจุลินทรีย์ไม่ได้ตราบใดที่มีมนุษย์ต้องมีจุลินทรีย์จุลินทรีย์ช่วยมนุษย์มากกว่ามนุษย์ไม่รู้หรอกในตัวเองเนี่ยมีจุลินทรีย์ทั้งนั้นจุลินทรีย์เป็นตัวชี้ขาดในชีวิตมนุษย์ความรักยิ่งใหญ่บนโลกใบนี้ความรักเป็นเหมือนสปิริตชัลสารสัมพันธ์ระหว่างมนุษย์พืชสัตว์จุลินทรีย์และสรรพสิ่งที่ทั้งมีชีวิตและไม่มีชีวิตถ้ายิ่งได้ความรักจากมนุษย์พืชก็จะเจริญเติบโตได้ดีแม้กระทั่งลูกเราเด็กๆได้ความรักจากพ่อแม่เด็กจะเป็นเด็กดีความรักสำคัญมากความรักมันเกิดจากความรู้สึกนึกคิดส่งไปสู่สิ่งที่เราได้มอบความรักนั้นให้เกษตรธรรมชาติเนี่ยมีความจำเป็นที่จะต้องถ่ายทอดความรัก
Safe food or maybe even love food? Another wow and thank you, dear little big wizards.
Nothing is more predictable than change, and he who sticks to the old will weather. Open up for a new idea in love, and it will carry you.
The next morning, our last in Bangkok, calls us onto the roofs of the city. Love food from the sea without being near the shore.
So spirulina is a cyanobacteria, but most people consider it a microalgae, and it's really high in nutritional value. Well, it's 60% protein by dry weight, and it has all of the 8 essential amino acids plus 8 other good ones. It's high in vitamin A, B complex vitamins, vitamin K. So, it really has a lot of nutritional value that you can get in a very small serving size. We really want spirulina to be grown locally, where consumers, we're close to consumers and where they can get it fresh, because we really want to promote fresh spirulina. So as more and more people are moving into the urban environment, right, 70% of people live in cities within the next few decades, we felt like having a system that could be grown on or used on rooftops to grow spirulina is important, because it will allow productive use of city areas to become spirulina farms to help feed the city itself with very small transport chains. Our vision is to help transform spirulina from a niche supplement food commodity today sold in the tens of thousands of tons per year to a mainstream bulk food commodity by 2050 to help sustainably feed the world.
An algae degustation follows and a spirulina ice cream for Bonnie. Yummy love food. Because no matter if you're big, small, or very small,
everyone needs love.
liebe Bakterien, weil ich weiß, dass sie unsere Freunde sind.
There is the Gaia hypothesis. It says that we may view our planet and all life on it as one living being, one vast network where all is connected, inseparable.
So when Pachamama, Terra, Mother Earth, looks at us as humans, she will also perceive microorganisms, right? Who will she see? A disease? Or a network? We travel on to Bavaria to visit the Oysenheimer Manufaktur and their bacteria bar.
Also, die tun für uns seit 3 Milliarden Jahren Gutes, weil sie haben ja dafür gesorgt, dass wir Luft zum Atmen haben. Sie haben dafür gesorgt, dass wir Erde haben, dass wir Humus haben, dass wir Pflanzenwachstum haben. Mikroorganismen sind ja Lebewesen, wie wir auch, wie Tiere. Und es ist ja bekannt, auch wie bei Wasser, dass Lebewesen eben Schwingungen aufnehmen und natürlich je nachdem, ob positive oder negative Schwingungen, das eben für die Mikroorganismen sehr angenehm, sehr zuträglich ist, dass sie das mögen. Wir müssen einfach erkennen, dass wir mit Bakterien, also seit 200.000 Jahren, leben und die Bakterien immer für uns nur Gutes tun wollen. Und wir müssen einfach weg von diesem übertriebenen Desinfektionswahn. Wir haben ja viele Krankenhäuser, die eben richtig Probleme haben mit diesen multiresistenten Keimen. Wir glauben auch, dass es nicht bei den Krankenhäusern Halt macht. Und es sterben ja 14.000, 15.000 im Jahr an diesen multiresistenten Keimen in Europa. Und da hat die TU Graz eine Studie gemacht, hat mit Mikroorganismen eben 3 Wochen Krankenhäuser geputzt, gereinigt, anstelle von Desinfektionsmitteln eben mit Mikroorganismen gearbeitet. Und die multiresistenten Keime wurden nach dieser Studie um 60 bis 80% schon nach 3 Wochen reduziert.
So maybe there is not them and us, them or us.
Also wir glauben und sehen das durch die Entwicklung der letzten 20 Jahre, seitdem wir uns damit beschäftigen, dass wir eine Summe der Bakterien sind. Also ich glaube, dass wir als Menschen ein Sammelsurium von verschiedenen Bakterienstämmen sind, die uns steuern oder wir mit denen leben und nicht umgedreht.
And the bar?
Das ist praktisch eine Nachfüllstation für Menschen, die zu uns kommen und dann ihre Kanister, ihre Flaschen mitbringen, um hier aufzufüllen. Es geht uns da sehr stark um den Umweltgedanken.
Ist es so, dass die immer das Beste für uns wollen?
Denke ich, ja. Also unsere Bakterien, mit denen wir arbeiten, von denen weiß ich's.
Okay, danke dir, super. So it is together that we advance, not against each other.
Like the colors in a rainbow.
Via Xanten near Düsseldorf, we head on towards our producer Robert Franz. For many years, Robert shares his wisdom and knowledge on natural healing with the people. But what connects his products with a Little Big Family?
Wir stellen den Kontakt zwischen Mikroorganismen und Körper. Genau wie die Ritterrüstung früher den Ritter geschützt hat von vielen Feinden, sind die Mikroorganismen unsere äußere Schutzschicht und das Körper besteht aus lauter Mikroorganismen und diese schützen unser Körper, halten uns einfach fit in Sachen Gesundheit. Aber die Menschen sind beeinflusst durch Fernsehen, durch Werbung, durch Politik, durch alles und vernachlässigen ihr einfach natürliches Leben. Und ich sehe auch in der Natur, wenn ein Schwein, der tut einmal im Jahr in so einer Pfütze baden, in so einer Dreckspfütze, ist kerngesund. Und wir waschen täglich 3-4 Mal unseren Körper ab mit allerlei Mitteln, für chemische Mittel. waschen diese Mikroorganismen, machen unsere Schutzschicht und dann staunen wir, dass unsere Haare ausfallen, dass unsere Haut rau wird, dass unsere Haut nässt und sowas. Und der Weg ist zurück zur Natur, weniger Chemie.
So, what could one do for the little big family? For example, from tomorrow on?
Sie einfach zu schützen. In Deutschland zum Beispiel wird jährlich 850.000 Tonnen Waschmittel plus Weichspüler verwendet. Natürlich werden unsere ganzen Mikroorganismen zerstört, unsere Schutzschicht verschwindet und heutzutage jedes Kind hat eine Allergie, jeder Mensch hat Hautprobleme. Deshalb weniger ist mehr und so wie ich sage, da gibt es ein Waschmodul, neu entwickelt. Wir waschen komplett ohne Waschpulver.
And what is the reward for the little ones?
Ja, die Mikroorganismen die kriegen kein Waschpulver, keine Tenside, alles, die kriegen sauberes Wasser. Dadurch durch sauberes Wasser, was sie erleben, können die sich entwickeln. Und mit Waschpulver und sowas, die ganzen Chemikalien zerstören die Mikroorganismen. Die stampfen alles in Grund und Boden.
Ich glaube, dass wir mit den Bakterien die Möglichkeiten haben, auch für uns und für nachfolgende Generationen, hier die Welt zu retten. Davon bin ich felsenfest überzeugt.
I portray microbes, so I'm a sort of micro photographer. Yeah. In film and in photographs. Yeah.
Why do you do that?
Because nobody else is doing it and microbes are super important.
The very small is but a mirror for the very big. You don't have to reach for the stars to deeply understand. Dive into yourself.
And after a lot of invisible encounters, we want to shed some light onto the little big family.
There are people doing that, looking at microbes through microscopes, but most are scientists. And I'm an artist and I want to make pictures of them and show them in their beauty and in their strangeness. So I'm a portrait artist.
Rain pours down heavily when we meet artist Wim van Egmond on a history-charged location. 1674, Anthony van Leeuwenhoek discovered the microworld here. He was the first one to describe a member of the little big family.
And he described it as little green coils made out of little balls. And I found it. This is the first microbe ever described. And it's a cyanobacterium. Yeah, I think they are the most important organism on this planet. So if you would consider which organism would have the most impact on the looks on the planet, it's the cyanobacterium, because they were the ones that invented photosynthesis. So what plants do, living from light and forming sugar from light and CO2, that was invented by the cyanobacteria. Well, scientists, of course, do a lot of important work, but as an artist you can use your imagination and work much more visible. And sometimes for a layman's audience, it's better to see the organism than to read a scientific paper about it, because scientific papers are very technical and hard to understand. And yeah, with a picture or a movie even, and if you see them alive and feeding on each other, you get a better idea what they are, and get an idea how it is to be a microbe. Yeah, but that's because of the lenses. What I like most are the very tranquil images that almost look like watercolor painting, but a moving watercolor painting. That's what I like best myself. You shouldn't forget all these organisms, all life on Earth derived from one common ancestor. So we're all family of that. Some organisms stayed small, some stayed simple, some became huge, like humans and plants and animals. They are incredibly huge, enormous, billions of cells. But also many of these small organisms are very complex in their behavior. But it's all in a micro design. And we are huge and often still simple, but that's more in ideas and thoughts, but it's also a different story.
At the airport of Amsterdam, we had already been welcomed by the microbes. And our last stay in Europe will be at Micropia, the only museum worldwide that is devoted to the Little Big Family.
We noticed that sometimes people come in and they have perhaps a grasp of what microbes are, but they mainly know them from when you feel ill, for example. So what we see quite a lot of times is that people, when they leave Micropia, they have learned a lot more about this huge diversity like algae or cyanobacteria or slime molds that are just surround us, that are a part of the ecosystem, but that don't make us ill at all, that are actually maybe very beneficial to us. So now this is the body scan, and what you see here, it's the microbes that are living in and on our body. And it's very good that they are there. We are sort of humanoid, as they call it. We are a life form that is perhaps mainly human, but also a large part microbe. If there were no microbes, we would have more like a moon or a Mars-shaped planet. Because then we started from microbes, and if this already didn't occur, then we have an empty rock, I guess. I love microbes because they are one of the most important organisms on the planet. This is one. And I love microbes because they produce beer, which I like.
I love microorganisms because you see humans all day on television, always human faces telling things and singing. Horrible, the singing. So microbes are different. They don't sing, they don't talk, but they're just microbes and moving and living. I like microbes.
We are actually here, we people, because microbes allow us to be.
And on to Bogota, where we encounter a very exciting hypothesis. In their ceremonies, shamans might be able to see the microbes.
Okay, my book is about how shamans might actually be able to see microbes. So the anthropological tradition is that these are spirits. But the problem with the notion of spirits is that that's a notion introduced by missionaries to convert indigenous peoples. And as I dived into the process, what I started to realize that they were describing living beings, living organisms that had bodies, that required nourishment, that could be predated upon by other beings, that made communities, more communities than families, strictly.
Only a hypothesis, says Cesar. But if shamans actually could connect to the Little Big Family, it would have an interesting impact.
Okay, this is an hypothesis. If shamans are dealing indeed with microbes, amongst other beings, they are relating with them, acknowledging them as subjects, as entities that have a point of view, interests, a perspective, a way of seeing and understanding the world in which those beings are at the core. Which is a very different understanding from the one you would get in microbiology. In microbiology, you can dispense of all the batch after you have done your experiment. In here, you have to have respect. In here, you have to cultivate a relation.
Because meeting on eye level is the initial spark for respect. Not only among humans.
And after all this paradigm change, we deserve a little waltz.
In each of us, says a legend, lives a white wolf, being peace and love, and a black one who evokes anger and fear. In eternal clash they dwell inside of each of you.
And which one will win the clash?
The one you feed, says the legend.
We hear a lot on so-called good and bad microorganisms. But then we wonder, is it apt to classify the little big family this way?
Well, I would say that for all of us who were born and raised in the 20th century, all we ever heard about bacteria was how dangerous they are and how we need to kill them by any means necessary and we need for them to be gone.
Ich finde, alles, was auf diesem Planeten geboren oder geschaffen ist, als nützlich, sonst wird es nicht da sein. Sachen, die nicht nützlich verschwinden einfach von der Erdoberfläche.
Ich denke, man sollte nicht pauschal sagen, dass ein Bakterium gut oder schlecht ist, denn selbst pathogene Mikroorganismen, und das ist die Minderheit aller Mikroorganismen, sind sehr interessant hinsichtlich ihres Stoffwechsels oder produzieren möglicherweise Substanzen, die bei anderen Krankheiten wieder helfen können.
Okay, das ist Dualismus. Das ist ein Resultat des dualistischen Denkens. Und gut, schlecht, oben, unten, schwarz, weiß. Aber in der Tat ist es ganz anders. Ja?
In biology, what people often say is that it's also very relative. The bad bacterium for us, for example, they are probably bad for our health, but for other organisms or for other parts of the ecosystem, they are very beneficial and perhaps even needed.
Also ich denke, dass die Mikroorganismen grundsätzlich für uns immer nur was Gutes tun wollen. Der Mensch ist selbst schuld, dass es eben Pathogene gibt.
All organisms are opportunists, so they want to make a living of whatever there's possible of making. And that's how evolution works. That's how organisms evolve. So they find all kinds of niches, but it's not about good or bad. You shouldn't see things from a human perspective.
というのは悪い微生物っていうのもすごい強いエネルギーなんですね。でこれのそのエネルギーの向きが問題なんです。でそこをいい微生物が向きを変えるとですね、悪い微生物が作り出したエネルギーもいいエネルギーに変わるということも最近の研究で分かってきたんです。
The National Institutes of Health in the USA report that almost every one of us has pathogens inside. Always. Only in healthy humans the diseases don't break out. So maybe black and white are not really helping us to understand.
Wenn man krank wird, man sagt in Amazonas, man lernt. Es ist eine Aufgabe. Da ist ein Baum, viele Früchte und viele Blätter sind dabei und der Baum wächst schief. Irgendwie, man weiß es nicht warum, dieser Baum lockt Blitze. Wenn der Blitz schlägt, dann der Exzess Früchte und Blätter geht weg. Und dann der Baum wächst gerade. So, der Blitz ist die Krankheit, die ein Ungleichgewicht korrigiert.
We wage war against the flu, malaria and corona. Understandable because they threaten our lives, but maybe the better strategy would be to enforce our own bodyguards, the little big family inside of us. Because defense might be the better attack. Finally, we return home, into the mountains of Peru. And what we have learned can prosper in us. I find the War of the Worlds in the library. Tell Bonnie the story of the mighty Martians who enslaved humanity. And of those who finally defeated the invaders, the microorganisms. For millions of years they do their job here on Earth. Grease the gears of the world. Maintain equilibrium.
They live inside of you and everywhere around you. Don't be afraid of togetherness. It is the foundation of life. Have confidence.
Sure, each family has, let's call it a black sheep. And who wants to be contaminated with a deadly virus? But nobody is an island, and it's for sure. Without them, there will be no future.
Das Wichtigste, was wir eigentlich haben, ist unser Leben. Wenn wir aus Mikroorganismen bestehen, müssen wir es ja auch schätzen, kennenlernen und Sachen tun, die für ihnen überlebenswichtig ist und nicht die Sachen, die sie zerstören. Dadurch zerstören wir uns selber.
Not only is your family bigger than you thought, but also very much smaller. So get to know them. The little big wizards. Be aware of the little big family.
And you will discover miracles.